What is yoga? What is yoga to me? What is yoga to you? What is yoga for the entire world? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about. I'm Harsha Nagaraj. Welcome back. The word yoga has been discussed worldwide these days more than you can ever imagine, more than my teachers or the yogic teachers would have anticipated. What is yoga to me? My words fall short in describing what it means. I can just put it in one word. Yoga means evolution, growth. Yoga means silence. Yoga means happiness. Yoga means contentment. Yoga means finding the inner joy. Yoga means knowing oneself. Yoga means knowing everyone around you. Yoga means yoga. It's just especially this question. It's something that it's very difficult for me to. It's very simple to answer. It's very difficult for me to put it in the form of words. It's been a very joyful journey over the last 12 years it's been like 12 years since I started practicing yoga. The journey has been amazing. It's been one of the best decisions that destiny made me take. Yeah, I mean, it's not that easy. I can say that for sure. Most of the decisions that we take comes from the intellect or comes from the people from whom we are influenced. But many of the decisions, the most important ones rather, that we take in life are the ones which comes as an inner calling, and that's exactly what it is for me. Most of the times I've told my students that I didn't choose yoga, that yoga chose me. Though it may sound cliche sometimes, that's how it is. I mean, there was no looking back. There has never been anything like that. I don't think there's ever going to be something like that. It's all about how you grow in life, how you glow in life. Things change. People grow. People shine. I grow. I evolve. There's something in each one of us which never changes. That for me is yoga. It's as you can just see the way my eyes and my face lightens up when I'm sharing this. There's so much of life in it. I mean, when there's so much of life and energy to experience, to share, why wouldn't I follow it? I mean, it's a path of knowledge. Yoga is one of the 6 systems of Indian philosophy. This is what we call as Shad Darshanas. Shad in Sanskrit means 6. Darshana means to see. Indian philosophy is not as bland and dry as the Western philosophy. Indian philosophies are very practical and experimental. Yoga is one of the 6 systems of Indian philosophy. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Uttaramimamsa, Purvamimamsa, these are the 6 systems of Indian philosophy, and yoga is one of the 6 systems of Indian philosophy. Why am I saying this? It's very essential for you to understand this. It's not restricted only to the practice of asana. It's a philosophy, but you're just practicing 1% or not even like 0.1% of that, and if that is bringing you so much of happiness and peace and contentment, at the same time you're financially free, you're able to build a life and a career out of it. Isn't that amazing? And imagine what happens if you follow the rest 99.95% of whatever yoga is all about. It just blows my mind away when I think about it. Just practicing asana and pranayama and just silencing the mind for a couple of seconds in a day, if this is bringing so much of change within you and it's making you feel alive and vibrant, imagine what it'll do to you if you practice whatever the entire text has to offer. See, that's why it's called as darshana. Darshana in Sanskrit means to see. What is it that you see? By doing all the practices that needs to be done, you see yourself. You see the reality of who you are. That is what the meaning of Shat Darshana means. Yoga is one of the Shat Darshanas, one of the 6 systems of Indian philosophy, by practicing which you see the reality of who you are. Who wouldn't want to see the reality of what they are? Why would you live under the delusion of being someone else? No one wants to be someone who they aren't. I thought definitely don't want to. Do you want to? I don't think so. Everyone wants to be who they are. Why? Because that is when you feel most alive. Don't you want to feel alive? You want to feel alive? Be who you're born to be. I'm not saying yoga is the only means for that. Adopt the systems that are there in yoga and pursue the path which makes you feel complete. Use yoga as a catalyst to find what is it that you're born for. This practices in yoga just clears all the disturbances that are there in your mind, that are disturbances that are there around you. It streamlines your path. It disciplines your life. It helps you see the reality of who you are. That is what yoga is all about. Not in the beginning stages, it's very difficult for you to get a grasp of what this all is all about, what this is all about. But by time you reach over there, but get the bigger picture of where you're going to reach when you're starting your journey on the path of yoga. Set this in mind. Okay, I am starting whatever I'm starting, but I'm never going to stop until I reach that point. What is it? Knowing who you truly are on the inside. Trust me, that's like one of the best experiences with respect to yourself that you can have. Once you know this, once you understand this, once you connect to this, once you start reverberating, and once you start sharing this, there's no better happiness. You feel like, okay, you're doing God's work. It's as simple as that. You feel so complete. You don't feel like doing anything else. I'm not saying this you have to feel only with respect to yoga. This may be with respect to any field of knowledge, any path that you choose. You're confused? As I said, use this. Discipline your life, discipline your habits, streamline yourself, and go to your core to understand what exactly you are. Don't focus all your life on just strengthening your core. Go beyond your core. There's life beyond fitness also. What will you do if you're physically fit, mentally healthy? Don't you want to think beyond that? See, now you are stuck. Your aim is to get physically fit, mentally alert, mentally active. Get rid of all the disturbances that are there. After you've done all this, what are you going to do next? You're not able to think this because you're stuck either at the physical level or the mental level. Imagine you've cleared all the difficulties that you have at the physical level, and then you're free from all the mental afflictions, and all of a sudden you hit a point where you're completely blank. You don't know what to do next. A big question mark comes in. That's even more dangerous. Trust me when I say this, being physically fit and mentally free, it's really boring. It's really boring. Why? Because it becomes a way of life. Once anything becomes a way of life, it tends to become boring if you don't evolve in the process. You're physically fit, mentally there's absolutely no afflictions, there's no disturbance in anything. Only then you start to think beyond. That's why we say become physically fit, become mentally balanced. Because if you aren't physically fit and mentally balanced, you won't think what exists beyond this. You're stuck in the physical level, you're stuck in the mental level. As a result of which, what happens? You're stuck over there itself. You can't think beyond that. But if you're physically healthy, mentally sound, you start thinking, okay, this is not the only purpose in life. There's something more that life has to offer. What is it? What is it that life has to offer? That's what the reality of yoga is all about. That's what the entire text of yoga, written by one of the most well-known sages, Patanjali, he wrote the entire text of yoga in the form of sutras or formulas. 196 sutras divided into 4 chapters, what we call as pada. Pada means chapter in Sanskrit. He divided the entire text of yoga in the form of sutras and wrote the 196 sutras, which is at least 2.5 to 3.5 years, 2,500 years old. He laid down the entire reality of what life is in the text, in the text of yoga. Just 196 formulas. And there you have emancipation. or what we call as self-realization. And in Yoga Sutras, Patanjali calls the last step of realization as Kaivalya. Kaivalya means emancipation, liberation. 196 formulas. Imagine how many formulas you have studied in your life, in mathematics or in science, whatever it may be. And yet there is no clarity. 196 sutras here, you get the clarity of your entire life, this life, previous life, and your future ones also. Why wouldn't you want to study the Yoga Sutras? The entire text of yoga wrote by Patanjali, even to this day, stands as one of the most important texts that one has to study, experience, experiment, implement, and see what comes out of it. It's very, very essential. The entire text of yoga, written in the form of sutras by Patanjali, is a blessing in disguise for us. The reality of life, the reality of where you are, who you are, the reality of why things are happening the way it is happening to you currently, everything is laid down in the text of Yoga Sutras. Who wouldn't want to read this? So here's a person who's pointing out who you are, who's pointing out what your problems are, who is pointing out where your problems come from, and he's even giving you methods as to how you can pull yourself out of the problems. And after getting yourself out of the problems, he's even directing you to go in a way which leads you to where you wish to be. Why wouldn't you follow? I mean, have you found any text where they tell you who you are, they tell you what your problem is, they tell you how to come out of the problem, and after getting you out of the problem, they even give you direction? Isn't this the whole purpose of life? Isn't this the whole purpose of you asking around people for suggestions as to what you have to do in this life and next life, and what you have to do with respect to the crisis that you're facing in this life itself? What I'm telling you is, all the answers lie in this. And the best way for you to understand this is read it. Read it from an expert. Just go through the videos that I'm going to be sharing in the next couple of weeks. Everything becomes clear. Clarity in life is what comes through yoga practice. Not just by practicing 1 hour of asana, you've seen a humongous change in your lifestyle. You've seen a huge change in how you behave with your family, your colleagues, or whatever it may be. Imagine how you will evolve. It's like literally creating a revolution within you. Evolution is happening, but with the sense of revolution, when the evolution starts to happen, it's a different game altogether. You feel so happy. You will start to wonder, I have never enjoyed growth up until now. Is this what growth is all about? You start questioning yourself. Oh my God, up until now I hadn't led my life. Now I've started to live my life. This is exactly what you're going to start experiencing. You'll start to wonder, oh, is this how life is led? I didn't even know this. Everything becomes a fascination for you. Yoga is understanding the reality of who you are. It is very, very essential for you to know what exactly is happening within you. If you don't know this, you just get lost. When you get lost, you lose track of what is happening around you, whom you're talking to, whom you are mingling with. Everything just goes off balance. Once you lose track of all this, who's the right person to talk to, who's the right person to learn to, who's the right person to even listen to, once everything goes away, you get lost. As a result of this, what happens? Complete and utter mental chaos. This is what we call as the mind shattering into pieces. You enter into a state of delusion, and then you become illusional, and after that, complete destruction. Just imagine, you can get rid of all these things just by streamlining yourself. Understanding everything that is there to understand with respect to reality of life just makes it a lot simpler. Understanding the role that you have to play in life, understanding what is it that you have to do in this life for you to free yourself from whatever you're doing, understanding how to discipline yourself, understanding the practices that you have to do, understanding, okay, if I do this, I'm going to set myself free. Why? So that I can see beyond this. When you have all these things going on parallelly, life becomes much simpler. It is definitely an everyday effort. You can't do this once or twice in a week or once or twice in a month and say, okay, I have done everything from my end. Now I have to just wait for the results. No, it takes years and years of practice, consistent effort for you to reach over there. When you put in consistent effort every single day, life becomes, there's no such thing as, there's no better happiness than that. It's very essential that you do these practices for you to grow, for you to evolve, for you to feel free. If you're feeling okay, taking out 1 or 2 hours in a day is like a biggest favor that you're doing, no. You're doing this because you want to feel free. You're doing all these practices because you want to know why you are here. You're doing all these practices because you want to feel as if you're alive. Don't live your life. Don't just live your life. It's totally useless. Imagine every day you wake up in the morning, you open your eyelids, and you feel, okay, I'm going to conquer something today. That's exactly how I feel. Every day is a new day to live. Every day is a new day that you can cherish. Every day is a new day to learn something new. And every day is the day where you can feel alive, where you can share the practice, where you can love, where you can be, where you can feel alive. Why would you want to miss this experience in life? Being born as a human is the biggest gift. And yoga is going to make you understand what it is to be born as a human. Why wouldn't you want to be a human? You would have gone through a lot of incarnations in order to be blessed with the human life. Don't you want to live it to the fullest? Don't you want to cherish it? It is a blessing. All of us think that we aren't blessed. Let me be honest with you. If we are born as a human, that is the biggest blessing of all times. Being born as a human is the biggest blessing that anyone can ask. And yet, we crib saying, okay, we aren't blessed. For God's sake, we have well-functioning hands, legs, we have well-functioning organs, we have a mind with which we can think, we have an intellect that absorbs wisdom. You are blessed with everything, the most evolved species. You are most evolved species. It's just that you have to improvise, you have to grow. You've been stagnant, you didn't see things beyond that. You pushed yourself into a comfort zone and said, okay, this and this is who I am. You stagnated yourself with respect to growth. Yoga is about growth. Yoga is about evolution. What? Evolution within. You start to grow by the process. Once you start to grow, you won't feel burdened. That's the best thing over here. In yoga, you start to grow and then you start to glow. You feel so much of happiness all the time. You feel like, okay, it's time to share this with everyone. Yoga is happiness. I can give hundreds of definitions with respect to what yoga is. But with respect to whatever the definitions of yoga that you hear, the one you actually experience, the one that actually comes out of you, that is the best definition. There are very famous quotes, even from Patanjali Yoga Sutra also. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodhaha. And in Bhagavad Gita, one of the most famous quotes, Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. These are two most commonly and widely popularized quotes. But you have to decide. You have to practice. You have to experiment and come up with your own definition as to what yoga is for you. It takes years of sadhana, years of sadhana. I mean, if you study Bhagavad Gita, each chapter is named as yoga. There are 18 different chapters, 18 different yogas. These days, the most popular and the most widely practiced form of yoga that's been popularized from the text Patanjali Yoga Sutra is Hatha Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Kriya Yoga. Most widely practiced. There's lots. See what kind of nature you belong to, see what kind of a person you are, and practice that path of yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is most widely practiced these days. Hatha Yoga is most widely practiced these days. Kriya Yoga is most widely practiced these days. Do a lot of trial and error. In the very beginning, do not stick to one path. Try everything first. See, you won't, what can I say? You don't choose a specialization in a subject right from the very beginning. Like when you go to a school, you study 1 to 10 and then +2 and then a bachelor's, and then after that you choose a major and then you streamline and find your niche and then say, okay, this is what I am going to work on. There are so many things. There are so many things that you have to learn in the very beginning, which are very, very fundamental practices and principles and disciplines that are essential for you to choose and understand what kind of a person you are, what kind of nature you belong to. Learn from all the teachers, learn all the techniques that are there, but make sure you choose the authentic teacher, authentic practice. Stick to the core of the practice. Don't don't learn from the ones who have polished the practices. Learn from the source. It's very, very essential. When you learn anything for the first time, you learn it from the source of the text. Learn from the genuine, authentic teachers who actually teach what has to be taught. Learn from the source. After that, you can come up with hundreds of your own interpretations as to what is what. But when you're learning from the first time, stick to the fundamentals. Classics is not old. Classics is classics. It's as simple as that. Learn everything that is there before you say, okay, this is what I'm going to follow. Before you stick to Ashtanga Yoga, try Hatha Yoga, try Bhakti Yoga, try Karma Yoga, try Gnana Yoga. There are a lot of things that you learn from all these things. And after a certain stage, let me be honest with you and let me clarify this. After a certain stage, you'll realize everything is the same. Everything is the same. All parts of yoga, all different parts of yoga lead you to the same destination. So why do you even want to fight over it? We're just taking a different path. Someone is taking the path of devotion. Someone is taking a path of action. One is taking a path of knowledge. Someone is taking a path of willpower. Gnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, and Karma Yoga. These four yogas were very well known and lectured by even Vivekananda also. He popularized and he preached these four parts of yoga in a big way than you can ever imagine. Don't just stick to the very practice of asana. You'll get bored one day. How much asana are you going to practice? When you want to understand what the reality of life is all about, or you want to just stick to the asana practice and bend your body, twist, turn, burn, boil, and then twist it in unimaginable ways, what are you going to get out of it? Yeah, you're flexible. You have the strength. You're able to stand on one hand. You're able to stand on one finger. So what? It's not going to take you anywhere. Do that in order to go beyond that. Don't just stick to that stage. You've achieved complete control over the physical condition of your body. You've tuned your physical body and the mental mind to a level of perfection where it listens to you. Go to the next step. And introduce your students also to what comes next. Always looking out to what comes next ignites the fire in you. If you stick and say, this is the end and this is where I'm going to reach, after this, I'm not going to grow ahead. It's like saying, okay, I don't want to grow anymore. Become physically fit, become mentally free, and then once you reach there, go beyond that. It is very, very essential for you to reach the level of perfection physically and mentally so that you leave the physical and the mental level and go beyond it. If you are not physically fit, if you're not mentally sound, it becomes very difficult for you to sit and do practices for hours together. It becomes miserable for you. You sit in silence, close your eyes. You will have hundreds and thousands of things that will be bombarding from each and every direction. Life becomes miserable. I don't think anyone wants that. Why we practice asana, why we practice pranayama, why we practice meditation? So that it helps us to go beyond that. It is very, very essential that we do these practices, reach perfection, and understand that this is just a stepping stone. This is not the end. As I said in the very beginning, being healthy, being mentally sound is boring after a certain point of time. What is the certain point of time? Until you reach over there. If you have physical inabilities, you have a number of health issues, you are not mentally sound, that's the biggest priority now. I completely agree. Get it sorted. Solve the physical limitations that you have. Get rid of all the mental disturbances you have. Then sit down and start seeing the bigger picture. That is what yoga is all about. Yoga is just not about limiting yourself and saying, okay, this and this is who I am. No way at all. There is no such thing as limitations with respect to growth. You wish to grow, there's immense knowledge out there. And Patanjali Yoga Sutra is one of the texts. There's Hatha Yoga Pradipika, another very important text, very beautiful text. There's Geranda Samhita, there's Shiva Samhita, there's Kundalini Tantra. Studying the Yoga Sutras, one of the most widely studied texts and considered as an authority with respect to yoga, that itself takes two to 3 years. A detailed study, and then you have to read commentaries. There are a lot of amazing commentaries written by a lot of great teachers, great sages. Read it. Digest it. You get so many perspectives with respect to what life is. Your perspective with respect to what life itself is changes. We all have this preconditioned mind saying, okay, this is what this is what this is. And we say, okay, this is what we can get, this is what we can't get. All these things drop. You can have everything and anything that you wish for. All you have to do is you have to act. I'm not saying it's just going to come, just like that. A lot of effort is needed. A lot of discipline, consistency. See, perseverance and patience are two very, very essential things. We even call in the Yoga Sutras detachment and practice, abhyasa and vairagya, the most commonly used, widely used words in the Yoga Sutras when we explain the text of Yoga Sutras. One has to develop this habit of practice and detachment, not just from the outside world, but from one's own laziness. And once you start to pursue this, everything changes with respect to what is what. Abhyasa and vairagya, practice and detachment, are like the two wings of a bird. You can't fly with just one wing. When a lot of practice goes in and the detachment also starts to develop with respect to practice itself, you start understanding how to develop a sense of detachment with respect to the body, with respect to the mind, with respect to intelligence, and go beyond that. That is yoga. If you start practicing and you become so body conscious, you start, paying complete attention to how your body is, you're just missing out on seeing a bigger picture. I'm pretty sure you've seen a lot of people just sticking to the asana practice and the pranayama practice, and then turning and twisting their body in unimaginable ways and say, okay, we're great yogis. That is just a part. That is also essential, but that shouldn't be the only purpose for you to practice yoga. It's one of the purpose. Any fool can bend, twist, burn, and then have immense strength. It comes by default. If you practice over the years, that's not a big thing. You need that in order to go beyond that. You have to understand this. Everything that you do is taking you one step closer to where you can't even imagine. You can't even imagine what's going to come, later on. It's very, very essential. It's very, very essential. Every action of yours must be in line with where you're supposed to reach. That is what yoga teaches you. We do so many useless things in a particular day, in a particular year, and then we start to wonder, I didn't reach the goal that I was supposed to reach. Why? Because none of your actions or all of your actions weren't streamlined towards that. I'm 100% sure all of you would have experienced when you do something with this when you put this one-minded effort to doing a particular thing, the work that was supposed to take 1 month or 2 months, you would have completed within 2-3 days. A single-minded effort, this is what we call as ekatatva abhyasa, means one-pointed awareness towards doing a particular thing. When you reach that, everything changes. Everything changes. Since you don't have this one-pointed awareness towards doing things, completing a task takes ages together. That is what yoga teaches you. How to reach, how to achieve this one-pointed awareness and have immense concentration and love towards doing a particular work so that you enjoy the process. You'll feel free by doing things. What is happening now is you feel burdened because you're doing things. That shouldn't be the case at all. We do the work so that we feel free. I do the work because I feel free. During the work, after the work. But if you're doing something and you're feeling pressurized and you're feeling like, okay, there's so much of tension within you, it doesn't make any sense. You have to enjoy the work. If you aren't enjoying the work, then it's definitely time for you to start thinking as to what exactly you're doing in your life. The work that you do should make you feel free. If the work you're doing is making you feel deprived of the energy that you have, you're feeling like you're being drained out of energy, then yeah, there's a big question mark over there. It's high time you start thinking. You have to, once you start, okay, listen to this. Once you start driving and gaining energy from the work you start to do, that's when life starts to change. If you aren't deriving the energy, if the work that you're doing is not giving you energy, instead it's draining your energy, that's a very, very bad sign. What does yoga do? It makes you understand this. That is what yoga is all about. Clarity and clarity and clarity. Each and every day, you gain more clarity as to what you are. You gain more clarity as to who you are. You gain more clarity as to what you are born to do. And you gain more clarity as to where your life is going to lead to if you follow what has to be followed. This is what yoga is all about. It's a very, very simple explanation as to what yoga is and where it's going to take you. And just imagine all of this. This is the most practical, philosophical subject that you'll ever encounter in any part of the world. No wonder yoga is becoming so popular. System of philosophy, an Indian system of philosophy being practiced worldwide without even knowing what is what. I mean, isn't that a blessing? I mean, you can't even imagine. I can't even start to fathom the magnitude of happiness that one feels. Okay, when you realize this is what is being practiced all around the world. It's just crazy. I hope this was informative. Let me know how you felt in the comments below. If you have any questions, if you want me to share anything with respect to yoga, you can find the links. You can contact me directly on the email. Feel free to write to me anytime. Don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.